For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
WFO! It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. WFO Radio, back from PRI, back on the air, mid-Christmas, getting ready for the holiday season. That's right. Hopefully you got your gifts. And if you don't have your gifts, we're going to tell you about some great people to get gifts from. Don't worry. The WFO sponsors that make the show possible. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get into that. We got the voice of the NHRA, Reinhart, going to share all his PRI trade show stories, all the great stuff that happened out there in the Indiana Convention Center, all the good stuff. It was fine. It was warm. Nobody had to go outside. Great stuff going down. We were reacting for racing to save our race cars. It was all happening. So if you're out there, share the show, give us a like, and be ready to talk a little NHRA drag racing. Good stuff happening. Now, before we get into it, though, you already heard a little bit about FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, Paul Lee's company, and I am sure there are a lot of people out there who are refreshing their transmissions during the winter break. If you are not currently an FTI customer, you definitely want to check those guys out. We also want to welcome someone brand new to the WFO family, the universe. You might see the logo right down there. That's right, Foggit. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams getting together with this new proprietary fogging oil. It comes in a spray can. You definitely want to investigate Foggit. And I'll tell you why. For so many years, we would race our car and put it away and just put it in the trailer, and not realizing that that is actually very bad for the very expensive high-performance racing engine. Gary has seen this over the years as well, and so has created a proprietary spray to fog down your engine after you've used it for the night, and it will protect the vital inside and surface finish. We spend so much time talking about how to get those cylinders right. Well, why would you do anything that would potentially damage them or inflict harm even at the microscopic level? And all those other things that people are using, they are not working nearly as well as this special proprietary blend. It's more oily and less tacky than the stuff you find in the marine industry. Perfect for high performance racing engines. And oh, by the way, they're finding like hundreds of other uses for it. So check them out. Foggit, hit their website, and we'll be telling you a lot more about them here on WFO Radio. But welcome to Foggit. I'll tell you after the Alan Reinhart segment, a little more vital information. Phillips Connect, very interesting things going down with the folks at Phillips-Connect.com. And I will say to my WFO Universe listeners out there, if you are in the transportation industry and you have got many trucks and trailers going over the road, reach out to us here at WFO Radio and let us know, and we can put you together with the folks at Phillips Connect for a very special engagement. Kind of a cool situation to find out. So go to Phillips-Connect.com to find out more, or reach out to me, Joe, at WFORadio.com. Very excited about Phillips. Saw Josh Hart out there. Oh, by the way, yesterday was Justin Ashley's birthday. Happy birthday, Justin. Josh Hart was at the PRI trade show walking around. Bernie's was there as well. They were in the stadium. They were on the field at Lucas Oil Stadium. They had a booth set up or a table set up. Very cool. Bernie's.com. Go to their social media. Check them out because, you know, it is a holiday season and maybe you want to get something like super papow for the racing fan or car fan in your life, maybe a classic muscle car or something. Maybe you're looking to sell yours or get a restoration done. Maybe get something basic done like windows tinted. It all started out with Josh going door to door, asking people, can I detail your car? And as he says on the rear wing of his car, anything's possible. Go to Bernie's.com to find out more information. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Hopefully you've been noticing the rollout of all of the Engine Performance Expo interviews on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel. all an exercise to get you ready for the Engine Performance Expo, which will be happening January 13th and 14th up there in Johnson City, Tennessee. I will be there. I will be the host. It will be great. You can watch it for free on the Engine Performance Expo YouTube channel, but all of it is an exercise to learn about the technology that goes into Ring Seal. And I just spent 3 days in the Total Seal booth recording Hidden Horsepower episodes. Alan Reinhart was our guest on one of those episodes. And it's just so amazing to see the technology advance. New profilometers, new software. It's amazing. You can see it at the microscopic level. And whether you're a guy who's having your engine done and you want it done to the top notch, or whether you're an engine shop and you're looking for the latest, greatest technology so that you can do your rebuilds and increase your business, go to totalseal.com. Later on in the show, I'll tell you a little bit about samtech.edu. I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school, and I'll tell you about Marvin Rodak, coffeeandgrills.com. Marvin Rodak's got some amazing stuff that I almost hesitate to tell you about because I want to make sure I get mine, but we'll tell you about that at the end of the show, right after Alan Reinhart. Plus, we'll tell you how to become a Patreon, because my buddy Earl Nichols says I'm not doing a good enough job. Earl, who is a national event winner and top alcohol dragster, says, Joe, you're not doing a good enough job. That's the kind of stuff I hear at PRI as well. Let's go out to Tucson, Arizona, and check in with our buddy, Alan Reinhart. What's up, AR? How are you?
I'm well. Hey, Joe, did you know that literally just hours after you shut down your race engine, corrosion and rust can start to form inside your cylinders? And that means that these won't seal as good as they need to seal. So what you need to do is you need to get a can of this, and you can just spray it directly into the air intake while spinning the engine over for a few seconds without the ignition on, obviously. Coat the cylinders. That will inhibit any rust and corrosion from forming in your cylinders, so the next time you start the car, these will be able to do the same job that they were doing when you put it away, whether you're putting it away overnight or whether you're putting it away for the winter break. Absolutely. This is a non-paid announcement brought to you by Wild West Engineering, Tucson, Arizona.
And, you know, Gary is such a great guy, and we're lucky to have him here, but he put everything he had into this because of what he has seen as an engine guy, right? Like, guys bring him stuff. They pull the heads. The cylinders are terrible. And why? Why? Because of the failure to do something basic like this. Now, I got to admit it, Alan, and maybe you knew because you worked in the pro stock world, but it was years ago that Pat Topolinski told me, he's like, dude, you got to fog down your engine, man. And I said, what is that? I didn't even know what it was. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't realize that you have to, you know, let's pickle it for all intents and purposes to preserve that cylinder wall. I didn't even realize it. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that don't realize that this is routine maintenance. You have to do it.
Oh, by the way, NHRA contingency sponsor.
Yeah, no, they've gone all in and doing very, very well. And I appreciate them coming on board for WFO in 2023. And we're going to be telling the folks about Fog It.
Sorry, I don't have an FTI torque converter. Sorry, Paul. I do have a McLeod clutch, but it's in the other car, the one that's not here right now.
Isn't it funny though? It's like the people who get WFO, right? They understand. We're saying it every week. We're talking about it. We got a strong base of Lucas Oil racers, bracket racers, sportsman racers. Although some of our bracket racing fans are probably watching the Bradenton action that is happening. But the bottom line is to be out there talking about a product like this, and I hear it's going like gangbusters. So let's talk about your PRI trade show. I heard that you were trying to get roped into putting an electric motor in your CUDA back there. That's what I hear. That's what my spies are telling me.
Well, I hosted or moderated a couple of panel discussions in the EV world. One of them was breaking barriers and performances, and one of them was business opportunities, because resto modding things with an EV, with an electric drivetrain and power plant, is really becoming a thing. And so, if you are not mechanical, okay, you don't want to have to work on something, you want to have an old Mustang that you can take to the cruise nights and stuff. You can put complete modern drivetrain in it, like so many have, but still it's going to need oil changes from time to time. It's going to need maintenance from time to time. But there is like an emerging industry for making electric swaps, so that when you want to get in, you get in it, you drive the thing like you would drive a Tesla or any other electric car, but you don't have maintenance, you don't have oil changes, you don't have to worry about anything other than having it charged. And so one of the seminars that I moderated was about business opportunities, and we had a room full shop owners and of people that are thinking, is this something I want to do? Because obviously, if you're doing a gas to electric swap, that is a way different thing than even if you're taking something like this and putting a Hellcat motor in it. But the technology's out there, and there's certain, there's tools, there's procedures, there's safety things that you got to do. So that's what the seminar was about. And during the seminar, I brought up, hey, I just bought a car. It's a project. I don't yet know what I'm going to do with it. So what would be the proper steps for me to take if I decided to do this? And a couple of people took that as, oh, Alan's put an electric motor in his Barracuda. And so after the seminar was over, I did have a couple of guys come over and say, hey, we can help you out. We can do this. We'll set points in the right direction kind of stuff. And I went, guys, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. I think the technology is awesome, but my Barracuda is going to make more noise. So I'm not throwing rocks at them. I'm just saying it's not for this project. But the technology is fascinating. And I mean, in the grand scheme of, I don't know if I told you this or not, Joe, but the panel that I had for my braking barriers in EVs, John Metrick, who is a long-time electric guy down Lone Star Performance down in Texas.
We know John. John has been for many years.
Yeah, he's no longer. I had the current president of NHRA. I can't believe I just blanked out on his name. The guy that drives the current technology made the first 200-mile-an-hour run out here.
Steve Huff.
Yeah, Steve Huff. I kept wanting to say Chris Huff, and I'm like, no, that's not it. And who would you guess would be the fourth person on a panel talking about braking barriers in EVs, in electric vehicles?
Don Garlitz. I don't know.
Asian, as in farm truck and Asian.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Doesn't he have, what is it, the Beetle or something? He's got something electric.
It's an F10. But the fact that somebody that is that hardcore and all, very well known for, internal combustion stuff, is taking a look at it. And it was interesting listening to him talk. He said one of the big things for him was just the brand new challenge. It is so different. And it is so important to pay attention to every little detail and every little thing. And that was part of the fascination for him, was trying to figure this out. But, the fact that, farm truck and Asian have an interest in EVs. And again, internal combustion engines are not going away, certainly not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's not some new technology and some interesting stuff out there. And I actually had a conversation with one guy in the Holly booth who was absolute hater, right? I won't race against them. I don't think they should be allowed at the racetrack. I don't think we should have them there. I don't think that. And I said, well, what about from a business standpoint? I mean, if you're a guy running the racetrack and you got 25 guys out there with EVs that want to give you money, you're not taking it? No, absolutely not. I said, well, I guess they would know why you don't run a racetrack. So.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Well, it's kind of funny. First of all, John is out there. He wants to know if this show is live right now. Yes, right now, John. Right now, 1:13 p.m. Eastern time. But to everybody who's listening in the future, no, not live right now. It's that's the thing. But we do the show 1 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays for a long, long time. Isn't it funny though, Alan? We're going to get to all the news and the Jim Dunn racing news and Alex Laughlin and all that stuff and the pro stock call-outs, pro stock motorcycle call-outs, all that great stuff that happened over the past X amount of days, talk some PRI stories. But isn't it funny how, and these are my words, not yours, but you just said it, right? And I'm using the term walking on eggshells. We are about those people who are angry, fearful about the electric vehicles. Like they have a visceral reaction to the idea that they even exist. You know what I mean? We're like, hey guys, listen, don't hate us personally. Don't come after my family, guys, or damage my property because I mention an electric vehicle could be interesting. Don't get all ugly on us. But everybody that I know does that, right? Like everybody says something like, hey, all you gas burner people, man, we're not saying that you have to give up. Why do we do that, Alan? Why do we do that?
I went through this years ago with the Sport Compact group, when there's so many people, oh, those stupid little things, they got those fart can mufflers on the back, and guys, it's somebody that has a race car that's trying to make it faster. No different than what I was. When I was a kid, you could buy a Camaro, you could buy a Mustang, you could buy a Roadrunner, you could buy affordable. And then what do? Well, you go buy a set of headers, and you go buy a manifold, and you buy a better carburetor. Maybe you change a camshaft. You do whatever you can do to make it faster. When the kids in the sport compact market were coming along, you could afford a Toyota, you could afford a Honda, so what do? Well, you put a header on it, or you put a turbo on it, or you reprogram it, or you whatever. You take the car you have, you try to make it faster. And I'm telling you, I said it in one of the seminars. You could buy a Tesla Plaid right now that'll run like 930, right? If I had a Tesla Plaid, the first thing I would do?
What?
How do you get it in the eights?
Yeah, LS swap.
Tell me what, and for anybody out there that, hates electric vehicles, okay, they're not your cup of tea. I get it. That I don't see that as being a whole lot different from a guy who drives a Ford and hates a Chevy, or a guy who drives a Mopar and hates everything else. It's just, there's a great big wide world of performance out there, and just because it's not your thing doesn't mean nobody else is allowed to have one. And
right.
If I had, I'm telling you, if I had an electric car that maybe I was going to run back and forth to the shop with, or chase parts with, or do whatever, and somebody came by and said, "Hey, we got this thing that'll make your electric car faster," I'd go, "Let me have one. Yeah. Let's see what we can do with it." That's my DNA.
Well, exactly. And, folks, and I know nobody in the WFO universe feels this way, because we chased them all away a long time ago with our positivity. But save your hatred for stuff that really matters. Check out the news from the Ukraine, where they're bombing innocent people for no good reason. Save your hatred for that. Electric vehicles are just something. Now we're going to get to all the news, but since we're talking technology, I wanted to mention that we had Mike Copeland from Arrington in the Total Seal booth. And one of the more interesting episodes of Hidden Horsepower that we've had over the years on this is about combustible hydrogen, right? He took an LS and made it a hydrogen engine, and it burns hydrogen. So it revs, it spins, it's got a crank and pistons and rods, and they worked with Lake and the guys at Total Seal to make the right rings for it. It makes 500 horsepower, and we're out there at Optima at SEMA, and they raced the freaking thing for 3 hours, and this guy's got more orders for engines from oil companies, technology companies, everybody to get involved in it, because it's zero emissions. So we can still combust something. We can still have sound. We can still have revs. We can still have all of those. It doesn't necessarily have to be gasoline. So you're going to hate that too, because, we love the smell of leaded gas, which I do. Nothing like it. But technology moves forward. The steam engine guys, they're still running steam engines in places. People like steam engines. There are people that play with them. They have fun with them. It's just crazy to be so viscerally angry about something, a technology. The guy pulls up next to you with the Tesla, dude, race him. Just race him. Send him home. Load him up.
On the drag strip.
On the drag strip in the proper place. What do you think of that hydrogen stuff?
Hey, new technology. I'm all for it. Bring it on. If it's less than $5 a gallon.
No, it is.
But I'm not at all opposed to new technology. I like what I like. I'm kind of stuck in my ways, but just because I don't like it doesn't mean nobody else is allowed to. And I tell people that all the time. The people, drag racing is stupid. Why? Because you don't like it? I might not like your sport. I'm not throwing rocks at it. And I've told the story 100 times, right? I'm not a hockey guy. I grew up in Southern Arizona. We didn't ice skate. We didn't play hockey. It's not my sport. I'm not interested in it. I don't watch it. I don't have a favorite team. It's not my sport. But if it's your sport, God bless you. If it's something you grew up with, it's something you're passionate about, I'm not going to say anything bad about hockey. It's just not my sport. So the people that enjoy it, go for it. Have at it. Enjoy it. I hope your team wins. I hope you have, you don't get called for icing or thawing or whatever it is. But just do what you want to do. And that's that.
You got icing. You nailed it. This person, I don't know who it is, but I'm feeling like it's somebody who's, friend of the show. Right? Live and let live. I should have bought Alan's hearse 5 years ago. I don't know who it was. I know it wasn't Bo. This is not Bo Butner.
Yeah, because Bo did buy it.
Because Bo did buy it. Otherwise, it's anyone else. Pete Lancier's our buddy, Lucas Oil Racer. My first car was a Henry J. 300 Ford Straight 6 with 3 on the column. Exactly. That's exactly it. Think about music, right? Like, I only listen to the original music of the music. Like, well, what about when rock and roll came around? Well, it's just, it's Captain Dave over there. Dave in the Middle East.
Oh, Captain Marin.
Yeah, Captain Marin has become a regular viewer of that, which I think is great. Jimmy Ryan out there saying hello, happy December. All right, let's talk some news from the NHRA. Notwithstanding, Jim Campbell has always been extremely kind to WFO, and I hung out with Jim, and he was so great with the fans. And so I want to preface anything I say by saying Jim Campbell carved out a position in the sport of drag racing over the last 7 years, and he has got his own base of fans, and I hope he is able to create something for himself. And I think he probably will be able to. But the Alex Laughlin to Jim Dunn racing story, I think captured the imagination of a lot of people, because Alex has proven he can win in everything he's driven so far. And now he will be on the tour full time with a team that just showed they can run their career best, and I think is highly motivated to get a win for Jim Dunn in the next year or so. So what do you think? What was your take on that big news?
I was really surprised when word came out because, well, I thought it was going to be me.
It wasn't you. You said it was you. It's okay.
I think, and I echo what you say about Jim Campbell. Hopefully, he'll find a place to land someplace. And he was always very nice to me over the years when we were out there. So I'm not, I'm not talking bad about him by any means. But I think for Alex Laughlin, for as hard as he has worked to get the opportunities that he's had, I think this is a logical step. He does have some sponsorship he can bring with him. I think every rendering I saw had the Haviland name on the side of it, and that's obviously something that Alex is bringing. So I think him getting a full-time Nitro ride, obviously that's a big plus for him. I think Jim Dunn getting a little more financing, I think that's a big plus for him. I think a big part of the reason that car was a low 4-second car, and then as of just recently broke into pretty steadily into the 390s, and that they weren't able to take bigger steps, I think a big part of that was funding. If you want to talk about a base of knowledge, tell me who goes back farther than Jim Dunn when it comes to burning nitro. I mean, he and Connie are both in the same group, and everybody else is 20 years at least later than that. So I think it'll be interesting to see with a little bit of extra funding if that car now steps up in performance. And as you said, Alex has proven that he can get the job done just about anything he gets in.
Yeah, I've had many conversations with Alex over the last couple of years, and the kid has options. His social media following is tremendous. He's out there with, the Speed Society guys, and he goes to No Prep Kings, and he can do anything. But he really wants to build a life in what I will call, competitive NHRA drag racing. And once he drove the Fueler, right? Everything else, that's where he wants to be. He's not the first and won't be the last to get hooked that way. But a conversation that I had with him about I could go do the Street Outlaws stuff and be a part of that and make money, and it costs less, and, the following and the t-shirt sales and all of that. Or I can do this, and it's going to be very challenging, and it's going to cost more. And can I make a living for myself is what he was debating. And he kind of was, really kicking it around, the Street Outlaws thing. And I'm sure he'll do everything still. But this is a great deal that he put together. And for Jim and John Dunn and Jonna and everybody over there to have Alex, who's going to bring a lot of attention. He's won in everything, like I've said, and it's just going to be a fundamentally different thing. Like everything gets elevated by that relationship, and I think they'll be able to deliver too. And I watched Funny Car Summer, the first hour of it, just the other day because we wanted to do a feature on Jim Dunn before the season was over. Didn't get around to it, but we're going to do it as soon as we see him. In Funny Car Summer, he says, I'm not really the kind of guy that looks out years from now. And I really focus on myself. Who knows what I'll be doing 10 years from now? And the answer is 40 years from now, 50 years
still
from
racing.
Now, doing exactly what you're doing right now. And it's amazing. And everybody should go watch that. I'm just happy for them. I'm happy for the excitement around their team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good coupling, and we'll just wait and see what the results are. But I think that they've got the ingredients in place. As I said, good for Alex to have a full-time ride out there now. Good for Jim to have a little bit of extra funding out there. So hopefully that they'll be able to pick up the performance of the car, and we'll just see where it goes. The one thing I'm disappointed about is it would have been nice if Alex had won a race in Top Fuel, because to my knowledge, there's nobody in NHRA that has won a race in Pro Stock, won a race in Top Fuel, and won a race in Funny Car, and he would now have the opportunity to be that guy. There's only 2 or 3, I think, that have raced in all 3 categories.
Yeah, you got to say that right now. He's going to be like, oh, I got to go back. I got to go back. UKev is out there. Kev is from the UK. He says, evening, Joe and Alan. News from Europe. Terp Arena, the FIA track in Sweden, has a new track owner. So that's good for international news. And Julie Natas has got a green card. She's going to be here in the States from now on. Way to go, Julie. And that everyone in the drag racing world wants the news. So good job.
Tell the gentleman or the lady or whoever the ownership group is over at Terp Arena that I'm available. If they need somebody to come over, just give me a call.
Yeah, Sweden would be cool. And, the Street Outlaws just announced their world deal. They're going to Australia. They're going to different places. John Forrest talks about his, starting his career off in Australia. I've been on fire from here to Australia. I do think it would be cool somehow to load a bunch of NHRA cars into one of Connie's 747s and do a barnstorm through Europe and do Hockenheim and Terp Arena and Santa Pod. I just spent a lot of other people's money, Alan, but I do think that would be cool to showcase some NHRA talent to the international crowd, including an
I'd like to have 1% of the T-shirt sales from the Street Outlaws in Australia. I'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah. And as much as they are a TV show and we are a weekly sport, it's interesting to see how well they have done for the sport of drag racing, and watching those guys run around PRI, they're celebs. They are celebs. Farm Truck came into the Total Seal booth, and I saw, Sean Murder Nova out there, and all these guys, Lizzie, of course. Oh, there goes Alan. He's going to get something.
I'm listening.
I just love following Alan around with our secret hover cam that we've got. Oh, look at this.
I raced Farm Truck once.
Yes.
For $20.
Yes.
See that has been autographed by Farm Truck and Asian, who was there as the starter and witness. So Reinhart won.
Farm Truck. They were handily defeated. Speaking of defeating well-known racers, you may recall, let's talk a little bit about the React for Racing bit that was happening in the Total Seal and Melling booth. Hartford's car, Erica's car, side by side, but really for the greater purpose of the new PAC, Political Action Committee, that is going to try to get our RPM Act passed. And it was kind of cool to see all the people working through the booth.
I don't know why they didn't do Matt versus Erica, best 3 out of 5 or something, and let Total Seal and let Richard both put up a couple of bucks to donate to the PAC.
Okay, so I witnessed Matt versus Erica. It was very impromptu. They were there kind of hanging out. Next thing you know, they're on the tree. And I don't know how many hits they took, but they hit the tree quite a few times. And there might be exclusive video that only I have that might go out on the WFO Radio podcast feeds. Maybe.
Who won?
What's that?
Who won?
I can't tell you because then they won't want to watch the video. But I will tell you about another, you raced Farm Truck and Asian, of course, in a very safe manner. When they were reacting for racing, it was Saturday. And Steve Johnson, 2-time U.S. Nationals winner, Alan, went over there to the tree and made a spectacle of himself. Can you imagine that? Steve making a spectacle of himself. Hey, everybody, I'm challenging everybody, whatever. So I went over and I offered up myself to battle Steve in the battle of the practice tree. First to three was the winner, me versus Steve Johnson. Final result, 3-1, me.
I'm not surprised.
Feel it, Steve. Well, he was going red. The guy was going red. You couldn't roll in any time into the box. And so, the first time he beat me, Second time I beat him, and he went red light out, and but it doesn't matter. The win light came on my side, and I won. I beat Steve Johnson, right, Steve? Don't worry, there's video of that as well. I will be sharing it. There's video of that as well. But it was for a great cause, and we don't always encourage people to get involved in government because government is very close to politics. Something we really don't like to talk about here on WFO because it's divisive. We want everybody to feel great about everything. But the RPM Act is something that I think has proven to be bipartisan in nature, and we need to get this thing over the finish line.
Well, what I can't figure out is why everybody I've talked to says, yeah, I'm for that. Then why isn't it passed already? I mean, yeah. I reached out, to my representatives here in Arizona, sent emails and said, hey, look, this is important to me. I'm a guy who votes. I live in your state. I do this stuff. And every one of them sent back, oh, yeah, we're 100% for that. That's, no opposition here. We're on your side. Well, if everybody's for it, what's the problem?
Well, the gears of government turn very, very slowly, especially in the Senate. And, you got to bring it up and there's a whole process. But people calling their congressperson and their representative in the Senate and getting on the record, and this is very common, plus joining PRI and being a part of the group. We got to do this. And, you don't call your representative and cuss them out, guys. Not that anybody in the WFO universe would do that, but make friends, influence people, positive energy. This is what we do. Jobs, STEM, American manufacturing, all these great projects, all come from what we do, and it should be supported.
I just don't. If everybody's for it, I don't understand. I mean, if I like kittens and you like puppies, and now we have to have a debate over that, okay, I get it. But if it's like, if everybody's for it, all in favor, aye. Right. What's next? Let's move on. We've got important stuff to do here.
Yeah. Well, that's, government doesn't work like that, but they're working on it. I think we're gaining momentum and we're getting progress, and we'll see exactly. Look at this guy. Alex is one of the nicest, most genuine racers. What else stood out to you at PRI? I know Drag Illustrated had their 30 under 30, the World Series Pro Mod invitations went out. I was a part of that press conference, really excited to be a part of the race over there in Bradenton. But what else stood out to you? Stuff on the floor, maybe cars you saw in the show.
I don't know that I could pick one or two things. There was a lot of really interesting technology. There's a lot of, as there always is, show specials. I think one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised by were the number of sometimes booths and sometimes not, just signs up in the lobby or signs up in the walkway that said PRI discount, go here, do this, for basic products. I mean, one of them was, 511, which are jeans and shirts and military and law enforcement activewear that was a partner of NHRA for a while. Skechers had a booth there, but like PRI member discounts, so I think that was something that was a pretty pleasant surprise. I've been going to the show for a long time, so I'm certainly not going to say I've seen it all, but I've seen most of it. But just, go to check out, see what's new and what's different. And as, you and I have talked about, a big part of the reason I go to the show is just to see people, say hi, shake hands, have a conversation with somebody. Mike from Long Shifters and G-Force Transmissions is a guy that I do business with, not on a huge basis, but on a little basis. When I need something, I reach out, and this is the one time a year when I can see him, when I can go by and say, hey, thank you. I appreciate you, advising me on this, or I appreciate you selling me what I needed for that. And it's nice to see you, and Merry Christmas. So that's a big part of my show. But, the NHRA stage sure was a busy place. Every time I went by there was just one VIP after another. The Tony Stewart breakfast, I absolutely love. What a great way to kick things off. I thought that was a riot. And it seems pretty obvious to me that Tony is still a little bit annoyed with NASCAR, and that might be putting it mildly. But listening to he and Ralph Shaheen go back and rehash some stuff was an entertaining way to kick things off for the weekend. And the fact that I never, ever, ever went outside the building other than about 100 yards to walk from the closest entrance to the hall to Dick's Last Resort, where I had dinner a couple of times, and the rest of the time I was inside.
It makes sense that Reinhart would go to Dick's Last Resort. That really makes sense, to go there and be abused or, give a little abuse back?
Well, it has a lot of things going for it. One, the beer's cold. Two, the food's good, and you know me, I like bar food. I'm pretty simple. And three, being by myself. Here you walk in. What's the wait? An hour. Is there a chair at the bar? Have at it. And I'm like, bing, while somebody's still sitting there waiting for, hoping to get into a table with their group of 74 or whatever the heck they had. So it worked out pretty well.
My meals were at St. Elmo's the first night, courtesy of folks at Total Seal. That was tremendous. Just hanging out with the crew down there. And, Greg Anderson was there. He showed up and we enjoyed ourselves. That was shrimp cocktail number 1. Shrimp cocktail number 2 was at the airport at Harry and Izzy. So I was able to put down 2 in my couple of days there. So that's pretty good. Not a record by any means, but definitely a lot of fun. What's that? We lose Reinhart? You've muted yourself, Alan. You've muted yourself. Alan has muted himself. Yeah, I don't know why. He'll figure it out. He's muted himself. But he can hear me. That's what matters. Oh, now he's back. Now you're back. I get a little icon here that says whether or not you're muted, but now you're back. We got to say something. Oh, he sounds muted as well. So what I'm going to do, this is what I know. He's back. Can you hear me, Alan? Give us a thumbs up. No, he cannot. So we'll just kick him out. That's my solution to everything. It's like power cycle your device. What's the problem? Turn it off, turn it on. What is it? Doesn't matter. Turn it off, turn it on. Now, if it's an engine, maybe you don't want to turn it off. Maybe you want to keep it going until you get to where you're going. But these little electrical devices, computers, etc., and so on, you want to power cycle the unit. And this has come up so often in the past, however long, 2 weeks or so, people having computer problems, power cycle the unit. You're not getting NHRA TV. Why is NHRA TV not working? Power cycle your unit, man, and it'll come back just like Reinhardt's back.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. You can't hear me. That is bizarre. We were going, and then he's gone. That's bizarre. We hear him loud and clear. So let's do this without Reinhart. Just respond to this. Oh, he's gone. Factory X, Jeff Turks, Blackbird X was in the booth. The first factory experimental car to make it out there. I found it to be amazing. Got some shots of the interior as well. So for those of you who are excited about Factory X, these are some of the first look shots. We crawled all over this thing. It looks as stock as can be, guys. It looks very, very stock as can be. And I really think that the Factory X situation is going to be amazing. All right, let's try to bring him back. Are you back?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what that was all about. My Bluetooth said it was disconnected, then it reconnected, then it disconnected, then it, so whatever. So I'm
internet
wired
glitch.
in.
Well, first of all, great job on the quickness, Alan. You were like Scotty there, figuring out what was wrong with the Enterprise, and you did. Now I want you to comment on Jeff Turk's Factory X Blackbird X, which I have a photograph up on the screen for everybody.
It's cool. I think that, love the car, love the look of it. I spoke to Jeff pretty extensively about the build. With that being the first one, there was a lot of stuff that they were kind of figuring out as they went. And one of the things that he was very pleasantly surprised about is how light the car came out, because they were afraid that they were going to potentially be over the minimum weight, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 2,650 pounds, which obviously would be a disadvantage. And then that immediately made me think, we started talking performance, right? It's like, okay, if the car's light, which is a beautiful thing, and obviously NHRA has got and is going to be constantly, adjusting, tweaking, making sure that the cars are staying in the same performance realm as like they do now, right? They don't want somebody to be 0.3 faster than the rest of the field as far as the brand goes. But does that now open up the possibility to go match race? Because let me tell you something. If Jeff's got that thing and somebody's got a Mustang and a guy with a Camaro and, find a fourth, call a small track. go out there on a Saturday night, do a round robin match race with those things. They're going to make a lot of noise. They'll do big burnouts. They'll put on a heck of a show, and everybody in the grandstands will be able to pick their favorite out without needing a sticker on the windshield to tell them that that's the Ford, that's the Chevy, and that's the Dodge. And I just think that there's huge potential for those things out there. You know, when I was a kid, pro stock match racing was kind of a big deal. You know, when some of those guys would come to town, because you could go out and root for your favorite brand, and you could identify with the cars you could see from the grandstands. And I really see that. You know, are they going to go pack Norwalk? Probably not. But how many other smaller tracks are around where they could go in there and put on a heck of a show? I mean, I guarantee you, Jim Hughes would give him a shot out here at Tucson to come out and do that if you put 4 of them or 8 of them together and put them out there on the racetrack at the same time. And I think there's a lot of potential there. I think the fans are going to love them in NHRA, but I think there's a lot of potential for them outside of NHRA simply because of what the cars look like. And we already know, you know, I say they're going to be loud. They could do big burnouts. They're clutch cars, right? So everybody's going to be shifting them. The fans get to hear you shift them going down the racetrack. I just think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, the drivers and Turk and I had a good conversation about being characters, being personalities, having a little static, a little friction, a little back and forth. He says he's calling out Greg Stanfield as an old man for fun, of course, with great respect. But like that's what does it. I recall going to a pro stock match race at Moroso Motorsports Park between Warren Johnson and Bill Grumpy Jenkins with Joe Lapone driving. And that was it, man. There was other stuff there, maybe jet cars or whatever, but there was a pro stock match race. And I think it was 2 out of 3. And it was a big deal. And man, Joe Lapone would get the reaction time and Warren would just drive on by. And it was like, man, that Warren Johnson's fast. The Warren Johnson is fast. But pro stock match racing was awesome. And the fans loved it. So of course there can be Factory X match racing once we get it going. Scott says 10-inch wheels, right? They're like 10.5. They're like 10.5, right? 10.5W?
Yeah, I believe so. They're certainly bigger than the 9 wide that the stockers are allowed. But that's one of the things that I think that's going to make the class better is you don't want them glued down. At least I don't think so. You know, I want to see them dancing around. I want to see the drivers have to drive. I want to see the guys have to tune. I want to see them to adjust. You know, if you put a 1432 on the back of those things and they never turned a wheel and they never moved half an inch one way or the other, then I think you're sucking some of the fun out of it. I also think you're slowing them down.
Okay, Earl Nichols out there, you know, Earl, who top out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He says that he passed you in the bathroom and you didn't say anything to me. What's your policy on greetings in the restroom there, Alan?
I must not have recognized him or noticed him. Most of the time when I was there, and I don't mean when I was there in the bathroom, I mean when I was there at the show, I'm talking to somebody, I'm doing something, or I'm on my way to the next something.
No handshakes in the bathroom, Earl. Come on, Earl. No handshakes in the restroom, Earl.
Yeah, I apologize. I must not have realized it was you when we passed each other.
See, Earl, it's not just me who doesn't recognize you out of uniform, right? That's why you got to always have your logos. But he says, I thought NHRA frowns on match racing because then the fans wouldn't come to the NHRA. See, I think that's never been true. Fans going to drag racing, see, like that's an old school perspective that came out years and years ago that is just not true. NHRA wants people going to drag racing, especially their member tracks, to enjoy the sport of drag racing. The idea that NHRA wants people to buy one drag racing ticket a year and just go and that's it, that's not true and kind of ridiculous.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you know, NHRA put a ban on nitro testing a few years ago for a variety of different reasons. But I also, from an NHRA standpoint, I could understand, you know, when Firebird, Wild Horse Pass, used to do their preseason testing 2 weeks before the season. And a lot of fans would come out there and they would take their pictures, they would get their autographs, they would see all of the professional cars, and then they would skip when the Nationals came to town. They would skip the big crowds. And so I think there's a little bit of truth there. But I don't think in this particular case, you know, with the Factory X cars, in the first place, I think the factories want them out there as much as possible. You know, and if that means going to Eddyville, Iowa, or going to wherever, coming to Tucson Dragway, and showing off to an NHRA fan base that is not in a national event town or is not at a big track, then I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. I think the factory certainly would like it. They want the cars out there. They want them to be seen. They want the fans to see them. And so I don't think that, in my opinion anyway, I don't think that'd be an issue at all.
Excellent, excellent. Some people are interested, here Josh says it's a 33 by 10.5W on a 16 by 16 wheel. And, someone's asking about 15-inch wheels and all of that. Only 16-inch wheels allowed. To me, whatever. What's the combination that we're going with? They agreed with it. That's not going to make me not want to watch the category if they don't allow 15-inch wheels. And I'm not saying that's what Jimmy is implying, but unless I'm building one, what difference does it make?
Yeah, and I don't know. I looked that up. Certainly everybody could go to NHRA.com or NHRAracer.com, go to competition, go down, click on rules, go down fact. But I would be 100% for a wheel and tire size rule. Maybe not a brand rule. I'd like to see the different tire manufacturers be able to get involved. But if you have a wheel and size rule, I'd be 100% for that, because I would fear that you would get into some situations where a 15-inch wheel is better somewhere, a 16-inch wheel is better somewhere, and now everybody's just got to go buy more sets of stuff, right? If you've got 3 sets of tires and wheels in the trailer, you've got some that are a little taller, some that are a little shorter, but they're all the same. They're all going to bolt on. I wouldn't want it to get to a situation where you have to have 15-inch wheels, you have to have 16-inch wheels, you have to have 16.5-inch wheels, you have to have bead locks, you have to have non-bead locks, because sometimes one's a little better than the other. I'd just as soon stay the heck away from that, put everybody on the same size wheel and tire, and then just take that variable out of the equation.
Absolutely agree. Like sometimes there's, unnecessary cost. And that's one of them, to be experimenting with the biggest tire that gives you the least rolling resistance. And, listen, just set the deal and send it. This is where I remind everybody to subscribe, click the bell. Those of you on YouTube, so you never miss a show, give us a comment, share the show, whether you're on your social media. That makes a big difference to what we're doing. Share the show on your social media. Bruce says, and I disagree with him, sad to say, but Street Outlaws are the only door cars that can pack the stands. Disagree. You give me Stevie Fast and Lyle Barnett, best of 7 somewhere, that would pack the stands. It's about awareness is really what it is. And the Street Outlaws are on TV almost 24 hours a day on Discovery Network, pretty much 24 hours a day. I bet I can go flip on the TV right now and find a rerun or an old episode of something Street Outlaws branded. And so people who are fans of that, love cars, love racing, but are probably new to it, they are enjoying their favorite television show. And they would go see their favorite television show, just like I would go see them produce a Seinfeld when Seinfeld was super popular if it was near me. I don't think it's apples to oranges, but also they are the top of their food chain. The top of our food chain is Top Fuel and Funny Car. It's just a different thing. I think we can fill the grandstands. And oh, by the way, Wes Buck is going to put this to the test with the World Series of Pro Mod in Bradenton, Florida, coming up in a couple months, right before the Gator Nationals. I think they are going to pack the grandstands, and they're going to be on CBS Sports with that. So we'll see, though. We'll see.
Yeah, and we'll see. I wish Wes all the luck in the world with that. When he started promoting that, putting up big money, putting up a big purse, and that certainly generated a lot of interest in it. And so I hope that goes well. But I think the Street Outlaws, it's just a completely different thing. And I'm not throwing rocks at them. I know a couple of those guys and
like them
and appreciate the show that they put on. But what they do and what we do is different. And I do think that, as you said, with pro mods, with pro stock, and again, depends on the venue. I think that you can pack the house. I mean, Cletus can pack the house too, but that's just a completely different thing than what we do. And it's not better or worse. It's different. And he is able to get his fans motivated to come out to the racetrack.
Speaking of Cletus, adding alcohol cars to their program out there at Lucas Oil Raceway or Indianapolis Raceway Park, presented by Lucas Oil, that is a cool deal. There's all kinds of movement happening with things that might have seemed stagnant a few years ago. Now, people why would you not want alcohol dragsters and funny cars at your event?
Well, I just look at it as cross-pollination, really. I mean, I think there are a lot of guys that follow Cletus, or a lot of fans that follow Cletus, and some of the wild stuff that he does and some of the crazy stuff that he does that aren't necessarily drag racing fans. But if they're going to be at a drag strip and we have an opportunity to go, hey, when Cletus isn't here, here's some of the stuff that we do. Would you like to maybe come back and see some of this? I think that's good. And I think if there's NHRA fans that don't know anything about Cletus, and they were going to come out because they want to see the alcohol cars go at it, and they now get an opportunity to see, Leroy and some of the other crazy things that Cletus has put together, they might now become a fan of his, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not, you don't have to pick one or the other. I still remember when we would go out to Houston and test with the Pro Stock car, and Wednesday nights in Houston were the instant green, one which you brung, clocks off, just complete basic drag racing, right? Two guys pull up, stage the car, instant green, go. No scoreboards, no nothing. You get a win light, you get a green light, you get a win light, and that was all it was. And there were times when we would be out there testing on a Wednesday, and we just weren't done yet. So when they would open the gates and the guys would start coming in for, the Wednesday night run which you brung, the number of people that came over and marveled at a Pro Stock car, you wouldn't believe. And it's like, you guys have never been out to the Nationals? No, but they're racers. They're racers. They're not, casual people at, Walmart that have never seen a race car before. They're people that race. They go out to the track. They participate in the same activity, obviously on a little different scale. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you not understand what professional racing is? Never seen it, never had no clue that it happened. I don't believe there's a kid on the planet that plays Little League that doesn't know Major League Baseball exists.
Right.
And that's the thing that floored me. So there are so many people, I believe, that are automotive enthusiasts of one type or another that have never been exposed to what we do or what NHRA does. And if we can get them to come to the racetrack and see what we do by coming out for something else, great. Come on out and just take a look. It's not going to be for everybody, but we're going to get some of them.
Yeah, and that is a fact. I've encountered it too, especially with my bracket racer friends. They've got a car, they've got an expensive car, maybe $20,000 or $30,000, maybe more, wrapped up in their bracket program. Have you ever been to the Gator Nationals? No, never been. Never been. Well, I don't know. It's just I get it. Some people would rather race than go watch other people racing, but there is so much to learn by going to see the pros in town. And I agree. Like maybe one time in the past, siloing yourself off from everything else was a good strategy. But now in the modern social media world, it's not. You want to cross-pollinate as best as is possible. And whether it be Cletus or Street Outlaws, Palmer bringing his car, that's good stuff. All right, other news. Elite Motorsports getting back to their roots with Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars next year. Bought JR Cars operation. Richard, buying everything, but he also sells stuff too. So I don't know how long he's going to have it, but that's kind of interesting. A little Mountain Motor stuff. They'll be back next year for 6 races.
It is interesting, and we'll see how it plays out. How they get along with the other people in the sandbox, so to speak. I'm all for people bringing more cars and more money to the racetrack. So 2 thumbs up to the folks at Elite.
Yeah, Eddie has shared the show. Thanks to Earl. Good job, Earl. Piece of news that I'm going to put it out there. It's on NHRA.com. It's not like a big deal or anything, but John Force Racing extends partnership with Chevrolet. There were a lot of people under the surface that were saying, oh, woe is me. Chevrolet is leaving John Force because they're going electric and they've got all this electric strategy and that's it. And now, no, actually, John Force Racing has announced a multi-year extension with Chevrolet, the bow tie prominently displayed on their machines, et cetera, and so on. You can go read the story on NHRA.com. But once again, it's almost as if a 20% minority within the NHRA racer fandom, whatever, cheerleads the negative, right? I heard from a lot of people cheerleading the negative. Oh, that's it. Chevrolet's leaving. Chevrolet's gone. Chevrolet has no business in drag racing. There's no reason for Chevy to be involved. And they're going to continue with John Force Racing.
Well, it's the classic, right? I added up 1 and 1 and I came up with 17,479,652.8. And I know I'm right.
Yep. Yeah.
Chevrolet did pull back some of their involvement in NHRA, right? I mean, it's no longer the Chevrolet Performance U.S. National. So when Chevrolet decides to do some rebranding and remarketing and changing its strategies, then there's people like, that's it. They're done. They're gone forever, which isn't the case. They're changing a little bit of direction, but they're not leaving drag racing. They have such an important presence out there in pro stock, in factory stock, now in Factory X. And I think that shows the strength of John Force's organization, that they know we need to stay here. This is a big deal. We might be changing some of our marketing strategy in other areas, but this is a place that's important enough for us to stay. And I think, part of the impetus is on the customer, is on the racer, right? I mean, John Force needs to make he needs to make his team important enough that when the marketing guys are making decisions, they go, well, there's this, we have to keep that, right? Because of whether it's on-track performance, whether it's off-track performance, whether it's metrics, but you have to make yourself strong enough that they have to keep you. And that's something that John Force has been very good at over the years. So, and again, it's the same thing though, right? I mean, if ABC Technologies decides, we're not going to sponsor WFO anymore. And, they're pulling out of motorsports. It's like, that's not what they said. They're changing strategies. And you look at the number of sponsors over the years that have done something and then pulled back and done something else, and then realized NHRA is someplace we need to be and come back. So, it's great for John Force. And I actually bumped into him one night when I was headed out, Saturday night, I think, it would have been Friday night, and had a nice little one-on-one, just sat down conversation with him for about 20 minutes about some various things, just business stuff and racing stuff and other stuff. And he is, as he always is, very, very bullish on the future and looking forward to getting started again.
If you're pulling out of NHRA now, you are bad. That's bad timing. That is bad timing. Everyone is excited about the future of NHRA. It is very sad that our greatest enemy are people within the sport, people that are like cheerleading failure. They've been around a while. We have chased many of them away, but they are still part of the deal. And it's sad. The power of negative is a little more powerful than the power of positive. There's 100 reviews. One is negative. I want to read it. Like, what does this guy think? It's the power of negative. But people saying negative things all year long about the future and General Motors and Mary Barra and where she's going and electric. Oh, no, they resigned. Oh, well. And that's where it is. Just like this guy, when In-N-Out took over Pomona, they automatically said that Robert was losing AAA. Guess what? John says, nope. We'll see what happens. But that personality type, I don't know, man. Come on, people. Think about it. Relieve yourself from the negativity instead of carrying it around all the time. If they did leave, we'll find someone else. We will go on and we will thrive. We've certainly shown that in the last 10 years.
Let me ask you this. And I think that's a prime example, right? I mean, Auto Club had some changes at the top, and they're changing some of their marketing strategy. Okay, I get it. Now, Joe, I'm coming to you, Wild West Engineering. We want to sponsor you. We are going to go full tilt. We're going to go all out. We're going to be involved in racetracks. We're going to be involved in race teams. We're going to be involved in the museum. We're going to be involved in the safety safari. We're going to all out. But in 20 years, we're quitting.
Right.
Now, do you want it? Or do you want to go, screw you if you're leaving in 20 years? No, I mean, things change. And I would rather applaud the tremendous run that we had with the Auto Club out there at Pomona and other places than throw rocks at them because they decided to do something else. And Auto Club will still be involved with Robert. And just because one thing changes doesn't mean everything changes. But, and sorry if this is breaking news, over time, everything changes.
Yep.
So
it's permanent. Nothing.
Take it while you got it. Try to make the most of it. Make it last as long as possible. You do that by giving extra value, and then understand that at some point it's going to come to an end. I mean, I guarantee you, there was times when people thought the Army and Tony Schumacher together until he retires as a brigadier general, right? But things change, and you just pick up and move on.
And even if it does end and you're aggravated about it, it can come back. Like, what's wrong with judgment? Like things, and then maybe they come back. By the way, the U.S. Army and the United States militaries are having trouble hitting their recruiting numbers. What was one of the most successful recruiting operations in the history of the Army? It was the NHRA program that they put together. Who knows? Maybe the United States Armed Forces will realize what worked. Like over the last 20 years, what worked? What worked? Well, that worked. Maybe we should go back to that. And that's the kind of thing. But you badmouth a sponsor. These racers, they get on there, they badmouth the sponsor. Changes happening with a lot of the sponsors out there with product programs. People go to the internet and burn the bridge. That's genius, guys. Let's go burn the bridge and ensure that no one can ever change their mind. It just is amazing to me how many people are willing to do that and just give over to, the dark side of the force for all the Star Wars fans out there. But anyway, let's not talk about them because they're dragging us down. Alan, anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about? Anything that you saw that you wanted to throw out there on the table? We're getting long in the year here on WFO. We're going to have a holiday party in the future. Of course, you're invited. You're the first official invite to the WFO holiday party like we did last year. I got to tell you, though, it's going to be light fare. It's not going to be a serious conversation. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I think I can fit in. And I will carry on my Christmas tradition, Christmas Day at Wild West Engineering. So I actually have, by the way, thanks to Josh Hart for the very kind Christmas gift. He sent along some samples. Well, not exactly sample sizes, but he sent along some new things for us to be sampling this year. So if you're in the neighborhood of Tucson, Arizona on Christmas Day, come on by.
That's great. We're going to start promoting that because we're big down there in Tucson, Arizona area.
Well, we only got one more show between now and then, right?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? What a year it has been. Yeah, next Tuesday we'll be back. And then I think the holiday party will be on the, what? Really? I'm thinking the 21st or 22nd. I'm not exactly sure. I think the 21st is going to be the holiday party. So it might be 2 days in a row of Alan Reinhart, but we'll work it out. AR, thank you very much.
Dear Santa, I have a Barracuda. Needs everything
except for an electric motor out of a Tesla Plaid. Everything but that. All right, Alan. Be good.
All right, Joe. We'll talk to you soon.
There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. All right, guys, get some comments in the comment section. This guy, I wish I knew who it was. Change. Spend a day in my shoes. LOL. Yeah, well, I don't know who you are. That's a good point. I wish I knew what your shoes were, what size they were. The power of positive versus the power of negative. I want everybody to do a little mini thought experiment with me. And this is for, we're going to look backwards so that we can hopefully move forward in a better way. Since the introduction of social media for the masses, namely Facebook, it's unusual prior to that to know what everybody thought, right? Like to know what people thought about things, you'd have to have either gone up to them and asked them. They'd have to be your friend. You'd have to engage with them and talk about rapid fire topics to find out what everybody thought. Now, since social media is such a big deal, you see everybody's opinion and what they think about everything. Because number one, people love sharing their opinions. Number two, they love receiving feedback for their opinions, right? Used to be you needed to have your own show. You needed to be a talk radio guy if you were one of those crazy people who wanted everybody to hear your opinions. Like me back in the day, I would get involved in a talk radio show. I could give my opinions. I could hang up on callers. People would call in. Hey, I want to share my opinion. And then they would talk about their opinion. The host blows you out and it's great. It's entertainment for everybody. Now, social media, all of a sudden people realize if I post something, I'm going to get a reaction. Wow, they're reacting to me. They're thinking about what I said, that kind of stuff. There's a little bit of an addiction there. There's a little bit of a drug thing there. You do all the research on the social media there, and it's dopamine. You post something and you get the reaction. Well, we also know through all the research that has gone on right now that negative stuff gets more of a reaction than positive stuff. Like, I'm so happy my kid graduated. It's like, hey, thumbs up, whatever. Like, this guy stole my parking space. Everyone's like, yeah, get him. It's just a thing. So we all know that that's a pretty much accepted fact. For those that haven't followed research or followed any documentaries about social media or followed anything about it, go do it. Don't trust Uncle Joe. Go do it and do some research about the effects of social media and every single person out there in the world having their own voice and their own place to post. Now think about all the people in the last, call it 12 years of social media, we'll start in 2010, who spent a considerable amount of time posting, commenting, sharing, pushing the idea of the death of drag racing, the going out of business of NHRA, race teams, like all the pushing of things that didn't happen. In fact, to the contrary. Think about all of those people. Now, why were they doing it? Well, they were doing it to satisfy their own need for attention, their own want to be a part of the conversation, to be engaging with the people out there. That's what it was really about. Because now, as we look back, it wasn't true. It didn't happen. Drag racing is bigger and better than it has ever been right now. NHRA universe, bigger and better than, there's more choices than ever before, but doing great with live in attendance, doing great setting records for television ratings, doing great for people involved, people coming to the sport. Like all those metrics are directionally correct. Then you got the Street Outlaws. You got a guy like Wes Buck, and I mentioned his name a couple of times because he and I hung out a considerable amount at PRI. And he's a guy, you know, with a dream, and he's promoting what is going to be one of the biggest drag races in the world. The opportunity and the options and the possibilities have never been greater. As soon as you click off this show, you're going to flip on Motor Mania and you're going to watch big money bracket racing from Bradenton. Like there is so many choices. There are so many choices. I tried to clean up the grammar right there. I went down the wrong road. I said is instead of are. Tried to fix it. Didn't work out. And that negative guy, and you all know him rhetorically, like there's a bunch of him and her. The people that we got to push back against that guy. You got to actively push back. Like once upon a time, you just let them be and you watch everybody pile on and say their negative stuff. Yeah, NHRA, you know, they hate everybody. They do not. We got a brand new Attention to the Pits out. Episode like 77. Benny with his Hemi Challenge Barracuda. Thing is awesome. It's a beautiful race car. You're getting up close. You get to hear it run. You get to see the rocker arms through the clear valve covers. Amazing stuff. Go watch that. Go share that. Go enjoy that. And realize if all of those people had channeled their power for positive instead of negative, wherever we would be, wherever we are right now, we would be much further ahead. And that's why we have to shun them. No, I'm kidding. We want to bring them in and hopefully people will change their ways. Like this guy, Scott Pickle Rick, referencing a conversation that happened on the Ignition podcast last night. And I will share the story. A flight was delayed. I'm now going to miss my connection. So I land from Indy into Dallas, Fort Worth. Big storms down there in Dallas. And to anybody affected by the weather over this past couple weeks, past couple days, I'm with you. But I walk into the DFW Admirals Club to get my flight changed. And there's a lady there from Morocco, and she's super excited about her soccer team. And she's talking about how it was very interesting. You know, English as a second language. She had just a big, giant smile on her face about her soccer team, but her life. She is one of the people that works behind the desk at Dallas Fort Worth. And she just starts talking to me about soccer, and she starts talking to me about her life and how she's only positive. She's all positive, and how her Instagram feed is pure positivity, and she just loves people with smiling faces. And now inside she's, she knows she's old, but inside she's young. and just all these like rapid fire positive takes. And I'm, of course, about to miss my flight. And so I'm not feeling the most positive as I've ever felt. But, the WFO in me said, Instagram, huh? How many followers do you have? And they're like, I wonder what she's going to say. We've struggled for our 2,000, 2,500 followers on Instagram, focusing on amazing cars and cool people and all this stuff, right? This lady, she goes, I have 675,000 followers. What? 675,000 followers? This is one lady who works at Dallas Fort Worth, and she's sharing funny things that happen in the airport. 675,000 followers. Are you kidding me? Now, in that moment, I could have been very negative. Could have been like, what am I doing wrong? I post fun stuff. I just haven't gone viral yet. This lady went viral. But you know what went viral? Her positive energy went viral. And so you people can choose to be positive or negative. And it's a choice. And they make it every day and every minute of every day. What are you going to do? Are you going to choose to be the person that says, drag racing is awesome, no matter how many people are there. And I'm going to go and enjoy the best time ever with a couple people that are there and the people that I bring there with me to see it for the very first time. Or am I going to complain because I felt better about it back in 1978 when I was 19 years old and full of vigor and, testosterone. And the women were coming at me. Let's see what Pete says. My pop used to say that sound like a man with a paper a-hole on a windy day. Sound like a man with a paper a-hole on a windy day. Way to go, Pete. Speaking of positive guys, old battleship naval veteran. Love to see through valve covers, some Jim Essex. There are more great choices to go drag racing than there ever has been before. Think about the sick week. My friend Derek Putnam, who announced with us out there at ZMAX this year, he caught on with those guys to go pursue his dream, doing sick week stuff. There's never been more. Cletus and Cars, never been more options, more ways to watch, more shows about it. There's never been more. If you're the negative guy, like you don't have the evidence to support what you say. Hi, Gary. Ralph says, great show. Blake says, could you have all 4 Camping World champions on the WFO Christmas party? Okay, Blake, I love you, bud. No. Just had Ron, just had Britt. Going to have Austin Prock tomorrow. But the WFO Christmas party is less about drivers than it is the people that are working by, like if a driver wants to come on, they're welcome to come on. They want to reach out to me and say, hey, come on, I want to come on the Christmas party. But when I'm stacking the deck for the Christmas party, it's the Jason Logans of the world. You may recall Nikki Shealy came on last year, NHRA's social media, maven. The people that I'm working with, kind of like an office party, but, behind the scenes. But you never know. Like the Total Seal guys, I'd like to have them on. People that work with WFO, as opposed to like just because you're a champion. So that's my vibe on the Christmas party. But, Matt Smith is yet to be on, and Erica has yet to be on for their champion interviews, which will happen on the other side of 2023. But thank you, Blake. It's a good idea. But we just had, them. So Caps, like that's it, man. Caps, you're going to see Caps on WFO in 2023. Unless, Caps reaches out and says, Joe, I want to be at the Christmas party. Then okay. Then the answer is yes. Speaking of positivity, let me tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO, like our brand new sponsor. These guys are brand new, and we welcome them because they're a new product. And if you're a Lucas Oil racer, a bracket racer, a sportsman racer, you want to be involved, you've got an engine, you've got a machine shop, this product is going like gangbusters. It's called Fog It. It's a high-performance engine fogging oil that provides protection for cylinder walls, valves, racing engines between events or during periods of not use, like winter, for instance. Or if you're in high humidity, like in South Florida, you would shut our engine off and it would there'd be water in the oil. That's how much condensation would occur on the inside of the engine. Well, by fogging your engine, it prevents rust on engine components, providing maximum piston ring valve seal. So your engine doesn't degrade due to anything other than normal wear. Foggett contains a proprietary blend of chemicals designed specifically for internal combustion racing engines, cylinder walls with finer finishes than, say, a normal engine, or with exotic piston ring packages. So go to Foggett.com, find out more information. We're going to be telling you about this in 2023, and we're going to give you some opportunities of where to buy, how to buy. If you call and ask, mention WFO. Welcome, Foggett. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams, and the whole team over there. Super excited. And it's like a partner product with Total Seal piston rings. Imagine you have decided that you are going to go with the best possible hone and the best possible ring. And then you put your engine away in the hot box that is the trailer, and microscopic rust and corrosion occurs on the inside of your cylinder walls. And you ruin it. You damage it. You do anything to it that you don't want. It's a partner product. Total Seal fits those rings. Go to TotalSeal.com. Definitely check out Hidden Horsepower, which is a podcast. Right now, we're going back to the Engine Performance Expo from last year as a way of promoting the new Engine Performance Expo, which will be on January 13th and 14th. I encourage you to go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. I will be a big part of it, as will Lake Speed Jr. and countless others, including the guys from Foggett out there at the Engine Performance Expo. Normally, like in the past, you had to sign up, and this year you will not have to sign up. You can just go to the YouTube channel for the Engine Performance Expo and subscribe, and you'll be able to watch multiple days of great content coming up after the turn of the year. I'm very excited. I'll be going involved with that. Thank you, Total Seal. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. As soon as we're done, I'm sure a lot of people are going to switch over and watch the big money bracket racing on Motor Mania, which is fine. FTI on like every car. First of all, it's a Florida bracket race. I flipped it on. Spencer Massey versus Gary Williams. I know I'm making a big mistake because everybody's going to tune out, but FTI in the house, transmissions, torque converters for big power cars. Somebody told me, like, the difference, there's a lot of people that make great transmissions and torque converters, but FTI sets themselves apart when you really are making a lot of power. Now, their regular stuff is good too, but go to ftiperformance.com to find out more information. Phillips Connect, Phillips-Connect.com, smart trailer technology, all kinds of sensors, internet connected sensors for your tractors and trailers. And if that is you, I encourage you to email me, Joe at WFOradio.com, and put Phillips Connect in the subject of the email, because I might be able to have a special situation for you. Go to PhillipsConnect.com. Bernie Speed Shop, Josh Hart. Josh Hart's a great guy, and he's not going anywhere in the world of drag racing. Bernie's is located in Ocala, Florida, and they have got millions of dollars of inventory. Talking about classic cars, exotic cars. You want a Bentley? They've got multiple Bentleys for purchase there. You want to sell your car on consignment? You want a frame-off restoration? That is all possible at Bernie's. But the best way to start off is just follow them on social media and go to their website, bernies.com. Thank you, guys. Sam Tech Brian Massengill was out there. I was happy to hear that this Houston-based technical school, which is training the future, all these amazing things that are happening in the world, the new infrastructure that is going into the United States, all of these things, they're going to take CNC programmers. They're going to take people who know how to machine, whether it be an engine, cylinder head, or otherwise, people with that technical knowledge. You're going to need it. Thousands of jobs are going to be created here in this country, thanks to this American renewal we're experiencing. Go to samtech.edu to find out more information. Maybe you want to be on a crew. Maybe you want to crew chief a car. Samtech.edu has drag race cars that are the curriculum and not just sponsored by them. Samtech.edu. Call Brian Massengill. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. Gifts for the holidays. Frank Hawley. This one, you will be loved for the rest of your life. Frank Hawley's drag racing school, the Dragster Adventure. They travel around the country. They bring the dragsters. You show up with nothing, or the person who's getting the gift shows up with just the clothes on their back, and they leave with the experience of a lifetime. Frank and Lana Hawley have done such a great job with this school, with this program, traveling around. So get it as a gift for the person in your life that loves drag racing, or maybe they're just like, I don't get it. It will be a perfect experience. FrankHawley.com. And then there's Marvin Rodak. I was talking to Marvin this morning, 817-924-6821. I'm giving his number. I called Marvin. He says, Rodaks. And I was like, it's Joe. So I'm talking about coffee. I myself am out of coffee. And he starts telling me about this. And this is what I hesitate to tell you all because it's a very limited amount. Some super Colombian coffee that used to grow somewhere, and it went extinct, and there was like a bean left, and they propagated it, and now it's back, but it's very slow growing, and there's a whole layer. Marvin has got a very limited run of this. You can't get it anywhere, and I'm telling you about it. 817-924-6821. And honestly, the WFO holiday packs where Marvin ships out a pound of coffee or bag of coffee, bottle of hot sauce, and a container of spice rub. Like, that's better than getting a basket with some deli meats, in my opinion. Call Marvin. You can get it whole bean. You can get it roasted fresh per your order. You can get it ground. That's up to you. And this is where Earl Nichols was attacking me. I was viciously attacked by our newest Patreon. Earl, who has won a national event, is an all-around good guy, very talented paint and body guy, was listening to the show last week, and he finally figured out what the heck I'm talking about with Patreon. It's a membership backstage pass for WFO. They get their own audio communications. They get their own photographs that I post to them. Most importantly, it is the WFO universe, the community that is behind the scenes. And it has been amazing. It's a miracle that so many people want to be involved with our show this way, that they want to volunteer to pay a yearly membership, preferably, or a monthly membership to get the community that is WFO. Go to Patreon.com. This is all Earl, by the way, guys. You're wondering why I slowed down. Earl's like, you've got to go slower, Joe. You've got to go slower. There's people out there. They're driving. They don't know. Patreon, Patreon.com/WFO radio to see what it's all about, to join. Nobody is obligated to do it, but a lot of people are doing it. And we want more. We want to grow the Patreons. You can get there through WFOradio.com. You can get to all of our stuff through WFOradio.com. Just hit the website for more information, WFOradio.com. All right, let's see what other people have to say. Let's see some final things. Just great show. Thank you. Monica, great show. Thank you. Blake, you're welcome. Thank you. And Ford, I'm glad I'm here. Ford is a Patreon. He's a Patreon. And Gary. All right, that does it. That's how you end the show, baby. So here's the deal. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow. I was not going to do another show this week, but then I said to myself, no, we got to get our finals winners in the books. And so Austin Prock tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Can you guys help me get the word out about Austin Prock? I mean, he only set his career best runs in the semis and finals of the Auto Club finals. He let Ron Tobler drop the mic and walk off into retirement with a win. One of the most storied crew chiefing careers ever. Joe Barlam continues on. But Austin Prock going to be on the show. The Wing Walker. So we'd love to get some buzz going about that. Tell your friends. Be ready. Questions for Austin. Super excited. Montana Brands, Frank Teagues, now Chevrolet. Again, Austin will be on the show. And big thanks once again to everybody who supports our program, whether you're a big sponsor or whether you just share the show or retweet it. Morning from the Upside Down, Matt Clark out there from Torque Calibration Services in Australia saying good morning. from the Upside Down. Big part of our Ignition podcast. If you haven't listened to Ignition, check it out. Also, receiving a message. We need you to go check out Attention in the Pits. Attention in the Pits on NHRA's YouTube channel. Do it. You'll never want to miss one. The cool cars of the NHRA. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Thanks to Alan Reinhart. Thanks to everyone involved, everybody we met out at PRI. It was amazing. One of the best ever, certainly. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're watching in the future, hit the archive and download that free mobile app.